Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, joined by Cal Brannan, and this is the December review, our monthly review of, Everton. Starting off, Cal, we had the Friedkins come in. The takeover is complete, finally, after a long wait, and 6 years, I think it is now, of Mashiri's reign of terror, despite some people saying that it wasn't all bad because he got a stadium. It was bad, in my opinion. What did you think of I'm looking now at their statement. A lot of it's, exciting times, the generic exciting times, blah, 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 future for the club. But they did put their vision for Everton Football Club and their key priorities, which include strengthening the men's first team throughout thoughtful and strategic investment, cultivating homegrown superstars through the academy, fostering a distinct on-pitch and commercial strategy for the women's team, respecting the club's tradition and keeping Everton at the heart of the community, maximising the potential of the new stadium through long-term commercial partnerships and events that benefit the city, and enhancing Everton's reputation as a unique and historical name in the world of football. What do you think about them? What do you think about the statement? Obviously, there's some really good bits there, but I'm pretty sure Mashiri came and said similar things.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's just the generic waffle you're going to get with new owners. I do like mentioning the homegrown superstars through Everton's academy. I don't remember Mashiri's statement, but he clearly didn't listen to that statement, did he? So I would like to see the academy get used a little more. I think the one big problem we've had through the years is not giving academy players a chance, or not giving young players a chance, and then they've gone on to thrive other places. I think the main one, you look at someone like an Adam Muller-Luckman, who it may have took a few extra years for him to develop into the player he wanted, but you look, as soon as he got into the right system to develop his talents, it suddenly worked. And again, I like it overall because I think it's a good thing for fans across the board, fans of the men's team, the women's team, the academy team. If you're a parent of a kid in the academy, that looks a lot more promising for you than under Mashiri, where you were probably, let's face it, you're probably looking for houses in other cities because you just knew at this club, your son's not getting a chance. Your daughter's not. More so, your daughter probably does because I think, thankfully, it's much in women's football. It's a lot more. You see a lot more homegrown talent than you do in the men's game. But yeah, overall, it's the generic stuff you want. But at the end of the day, I think you've seen with Roma that the Friedkins do genuinely care, and they're not perfect, but they, to be brutally honest, to the Roma fans, they're going to have a lot more money to pull with Everton just because the money in the Premier League is so much more than what it is in the other leagues. So I think it's just one of those where we'll have to see. But yeah, I am quite excited for it, and we'll have to see. Now that I finished that, are you able to pause this or tell John to cut it?
Reading the statement, cultivating superstars through the academy was the one that really, stood out for me. It makes sense, doesn't it? Why wouldn't you look at the likes of the Luckmans of the world? I know we bought him, so he's not, exactly. But when you look at Anthony Gordon, who did come through the academy, we sold him for a nice bit of money. Ross Barkley, if it all had gone well and he'd gone when he should have gone, would have been a nice, a value as well. Wayne Rooney. But they're the only 3 academy players that we've sold for any real money, any real standout.
I think as well, there's no desire to improve the academy as well. So, for example, you look at Liverpool. They're the easiest example right now I can think of buying players like Bajcetic, Harvey Elliott, Fabio Carvalho, who Carvalho didn't really work out at Liverpool, but they've sold him for a profit. These players where, they might look at other academies and pinch them because that it works. But I feel like with us, there's no desire to really, or there wasn't under Mashiri any desire for the academy to do anything. Even when we had those years under Unsworth, where I think we did really well in the Premier League too and stuff like that, I think we might have won it. And there was how many of those players ended up getting called up for the first team? Gordon and I can't think of no one.
Calvert-Lewin was in that team, I think. Was he first?
Yeah, no, Gordon, Calvert-Lewin, and then
Yeah, the likes of Kieran Dowell dropped off, didn't they? It was Kieran Dowell. He was in it.
Ryan Lidson, Luke Garbutt.
Yeah, Tom Davis, who did come, but obviously eventually dropped off. I shouted out the people we sold for profits. Tom Davis, you could argue, was an all right prospect, although we didn't sell him on for money. We did get
Tom
a lot
Davis
out of
is
him.
one where he would have developed much quicker, or he clearly had the talent. Look at the City game. I think he just needed consistent structure around him.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't sell him on, but when you look at how much game time we got out of him, it was all right. He was playing for he played what was it, 3 seasons before he eventually was sold. 3-4 seasons.
More than that. 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So
he's
17 or 18 the year, and then he went in 22, was it not? He left not last season, the season before.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But it is interesting. I mean, because you see, we've got that Amari Benjamin, haven't we, from Arsenal? He's meant to be a bit of a prospect. But even it's been a bit quiet. I can't remember the last time we heard big buzz about an academy, because you see other teams and, Arsenal, they're always raving about their up-and-coming graduates.
Yeah, I think the thing is they're always
near
a minute. Against a team like Peterborough, who are looking like they might get relegated from League One. I know a lot of people think of Peterborough as like promotion chasing, but they've been terrible this season. Why isn't he? Probably will, because on the thing Everton have released about the fixtures, he's like on the front of it. I can imagine Harrison Armstrong's going to start, but Armstrong, and then there's other lads in the academy that
Whittaker as well.
Yeah, I refuse to believe there's not a few lads in the under-21s who've been smashing it and deserve a chance.
I'd argue we've let some go as well. Like obviously Dobbin, and we got a decent price for Dobbin, but I think I
think with Dobbin, I'm happy with it because I think Robinham's got everything to be a really good player.
Yeah,
and he's a similar age.
Ellis Sims as well was bashing them in at under 21, and
the thing is with Sims though is he's let me double check here before I look a bit silly.
I just think we could have done more with the right nurturing.
Yeah, but I think the problem is Sims is just a bit stinky.
Yeah.
He's ended up being a bit, but again, that might be a thing of why he wasn't developed properly, and then.
Yeah, because he had a good season last season, but I know he's dropped off a bit. But we also need to make sure that academy coaches are going the right places to source players as well. Making sure that we try and increase the catchment area for one, and trying to do what we did.
I like the idea of having people who know the club in charge of the academies, though. I do think they might not be the most qualified coaches, but at the end of the day, they get the club. And I think that can be a lot more important than... Because I think a lot of actual coaching ability, I don't really think it matters in youth football. It's more your ability to, develop and be a good arm around sort of manager than your actual tactical nous. It's your ability to, it's almost like a teacher. You're developing young people into adults. So it's someone like Leighton Baines who's... Again, you look at Leighton Baines. Imagine you're a left back in Everton's academy and you've got one of the best left backs to ever play in the Premier League coaching you.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I think it needs a blend. I think it needs a blend of you need people who get the club, but you also need quality. My biggest problem with Everton's academy is that, and this doesn't help with the fact we switch managers every 18 months to 2 years, but there's no funnel system. So I think there was at one point we were playing 3/5 at the back under Ancelotti, and the under 21s were playing a 4-2-3-1, and then the under 18s were playing a different formation. And it's
changed now, hasn't it?
It's changed now, yeah. But when it was Unsworth there, he was just playing whatever he wanted, which worked for a brief period. But it doesn't help the lads progress. It looks great for Unsworth and the team, but it doesn't help the lads ease into the first team. But neither does switching the manager every 2 years.
No, and to be fair, talking about it now, when it's probably not saying that it's a January game, so I will mention it. I do think Armstrong looked reasonably comfortable when he came on, which I think I don't think he was amazing or anything. I have a look here. Here he is. Don't think he was amazing or anything, but at the end of the day, he looked quite comfortable. He was moving with the ball, which I liked, and he felt a lot more positive than I believe he ended up. Who did he end up replacing? It was Gaya Mangala, I think. And because he swapped places with Decore and ended up going to the sort of that 10/8 role, which I think he did really well. I think he's a player who should be given more chances in the first team now. Saying that, I think he's still like 19, 17. Wow. Never mind. I didn't realize he was that young. But yeah, it's the one credit I'll give Kevin Felwell is for doing this is now. I think, for example, I'm going to use Graham Potter as an example because he's someone who always played young players at Brighton. I could easily see a Graham Potter looking at someone like Armstrong and going, "I'm really going to give you a chance," because I think someone like Armstrong, he's got all the physical tools you'd want in a player, and he's clearly quite gifted technically as well. It's just about developing him, and it's like, if this was 5 years ago, we'd look at someone like an Armstrong and go, okay, so we're going to sell him and another club's probably going to develop him.
Yeah, I think it's definitely I think as well, I don't know if we've mentioned it. I don't think we have mentioned it, but he has mentioned the women's team strategy is great to see as well, because I know they've had ups and downs.
Yeah, their season's been very weirdly mixed, but they've been a team circling the drain sort of almost for a few years now, ever since what's his name? Oh, I feel really bad. I've met him. I should know his name. No, the old manager, the Scottish bloke, Willie.
Willie Kirk.
Yeah, I should know that. I've met him before.
Because they had
we're a team where let me check. Even besides the one season we finished like 6th. Yeah, here we go. 22-23. Where I think we look quite good. I think we did a thing similar to the Ancelotti season. But yeah, for like the COVID season as well, we were quite good. But yeah, like the past 2 or 3 seasons, we've been like comfortably safe, but just a like what the men's team are, bottom half team with no real hopes of developing. And then obviously the good players that we get, for example, I think it's their first name's Natalie. I may be wrong, but Bjorn, who ended up moving to Chelsea this season, or I feel really bad, moved to Manchester United, and then centre back. Is it Gabby George or something?
Oh, Gabby George, yeah. And we've lost.
I get another player who's quite good, but there's no path forward with Everton. So, and it's not, and United only finished 5th that season, and then when we sold her, so it's not like But again, even this season, only Chloe Kelly, yeah, only 4 points at Jess Park. Obviously, with no chance of getting her permanently, but there never was with the team. We're only 4 points off relegation now, but it's really weird this season. So realistically, from 6th to 12th, there's only 6 points in it. We're only 4 points off Crystal Palace at the bottom, but Crystal Palace are one where I think I don't really see a weighing them surviving. Saying that, Leicester haven't been the best, but with us, it's one of those where I think they've just got a tendency to get tonked. I think, like I said, I think we beat Liverpool. We beat them, and we beat them in the league, and then I think we might beat them we drew with them, beat them, and then played them again in the League Cup and got tonked 4-0. So and then even then, we the last game beat Man City. It's just inconsistencies. It's the same as the men's team. Like we lose to Leicester. It's literally the exact same as the men's team. We lose to Leicester, who are basically it's Southampton, or like lose to them, and then we'll beat Liverpool, who it's saying that they're a mid-table team in this league. But then we beat Man City.
Yeah, it is really
consensusly probably the second best team in the league this season, behind Chelsea.
It's a mad one. That was the other thing that stuck out, though, is the women's team. Other than that, the rest of it is what you'd hope, like the tradition, the keeping in the heart of community. You'd hope.
That the women's team should get more development as well, because I think it's much easier to jump up the table in the Women's Super League than it is in the Premier League. Like, besides your top 4, your Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, Man United, it's an open race. You've seen Villa try to do it with signing players like Rachel Daly. Kenzadali from us, actually. That's another one who's really good. And then, yeah, there's an easy chance to jump up. And I think the club needs to take it because I think even getting into where a Man United are, because even Man United are still in a position in women's football where if a different team comes in for the players, they have to accept it. And Mary Earp's going to PSG, for example. So I think it's one where hopefully they are right. I have seen that we have just signed someone permanently from United and then someone on loan as well. But yeah, hopefully so, because, you know, you want to see all aspects of the football club improving, not just the men's senior team.
Yeah, I agree. Echo those sentiments. Well, we might as well start with the fixtures now because December is a long month for football. And at Everton, it feels this is with a game missing as well. But there are like 6 games to cover here, 7. Start off way back at the 1st of December, 4-0 thrashing to Man United. Rashford 2.
Oh, wait, that was the first game, wasn't it? I was on Wolves.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, the fact that we made Joshua Zirkzee former Everton trialist Joshua Zirkzee look really, really good. And Rashford, 2 players that I wouldn't say are really in form for United this season.
That would be terrible.
But obviously,
Rashford's been booted out of the team.
But if you're down on your luck, Everton are the team for you, aren't they? So,
well, yeah. Even look at it here: 4-0, 1.07 xG. Free, you know, it's like it's a capitulation, and it's the weird thing where the entire defense was terrible. Everyone was terrible this game, even Pickford. The entire defense just didn't click this game. The attack had nothing going for it. I think Mikalenko, again, we're going to mention him a lot this month, got absolutely terrorised by Amad Diallo. Absolutely terrorised. You know, I think it's as simple as if Mikalenko doesn't play that game, I think we only lose 1 or 2-0. I think Mikalenko was just getting every time Diallo got near him. And Diallo's a really good player. We've seen him do it against Liverpool most recently. Man City, he's a good player. He's really good. But at the end of the day, man, it was pathetic. And it's a thing I think we're going to say about Mikalenko a lot this month. But it's just one where there's not really much to say from an Everton perspective, really. There was nothing good that happened.
No, I mean,
terrible.
I feel like obviously Calvert-Lewin missed a big chance in that game. I feel like it was a classic Everton though, where we did well up until we didn't do well, and then as soon as Rashford scored, bam! There's before half, like Zirkzee scores, Rashford scores again in the 46th minute, and it's game over. And then obviously Zirkzee in the 64th, but it just classic Everton where I thought we were in the game up at half an hour in, fall away, get punished for it, can't turn our heads round quick enough, which has been a problem for this club for like 6 years, where your heads drop after you concede, bang, another 2, there you go, game over, and then heads have dropped again. It was a problem I noticed last year as well with Sean Dyche's teams and Everton in general, but like since his stint at Everton, and I think it was before he came, we really struggle after we come out from half time. But I think we struggle after half time, even if it's 0-0. I swear we come out and I don't know if it's that they're not awake enough yet, or what, but it takes them at least 10 minutes to get back in the game. And it's something I noticed last year, and we've got punished a couple of times last year for it. And obviously to come back and have it done.
As little possession as we do, it's natural. I think you're barely touching the ball in the first half. You're not going to be, if you're on the ball more, you're going to be more aware of your surroundings. You're going to be more, and I'm not saying that means we should be playing 60% possession football, but I do think it's an issue of the Dyche lump it up long to Calvert-Lewin. It's like Tarkowski, Branthwaite, Pickford up to Calvert-Lewin. I do think we could benefit from just passing the ball around a little bit. Even if it's a bit, it wakes players up, it gets people aware, especially at the start of a half. Every team does the kick-off bang to one of the wingers. Every team does that. Even the good teams do that. So it's but I do wish the team would take a little bit more priority. And again, I think every team does it. I think you look at every team where they don't have barely any possession unless they're Nottingham Forest, who are just all so well drilled that it doesn't matter. I think it happens with a lot of teams where they'll concede early into halves or when they've barely touched the ball because they are not awake enough because they've barely touched the ball, or they'll have more mistakes on the ball when they get the ball because they've barely touched it, which then leads to mistakes leading to goals. I do think that's a discipline issue from the manager and the players as well. Like I said, we're going to probably talk a lot of bad on Sean Dyche this month, but also I think the players don't cover him in glory either, to be honest, mainly the strikers.
Yeah, 20 seconds in after the restart is just... I mean...
It shouldn't ever happen. Realistically, after the restart, everyone should be back if the other team has kick-off. Everyone should be back. You shouldn't be making... It's Sunday League level, that. It is Sunday League level. Saying that, I don't think Sunday League... That'd happen in Sunday League. So, it's one of those where it's another example of why this negative spirals around Sean Dyche, because in the majority of the game, we'll defend fantastically. We're one of the best defensive teams in the league when we're aware. But then there's these moments where on set pieces or on the start of halves or after a throw-in even, the team will shut off for a second, and then that'll give a team with... Any team with competent wingers does us. And I think it's a sign this month. Any team that has more than competent wingers absolutely pummels us, or comes close to pummeling us. You know, I think it's one of those where it's typical of the thing. But like you mentioned, you know, with the Man United game, with it literally just being head shutting off, and the exact opposite happened the next game, where that game should have never been 4-0. Never been 4-0.
And we played really well in this game. This is obviously Everton Wolves, which we won 4-0. I thought we played really, really well. I thought we were...
but I think
Wolves as well.
All 4 of the goals are Wolves shutting off. Less so the free kick. It's a good free kick. It's a good first goal from Ashley Young, which I think made him the oldest goal scorer in Premier League history.
Is he older than Giggs? I think Giggs might still have that.
What did he do? 1 second. It says landmark Young goal. Ashley Young netted a landmark Premier League goal. Well, what is the open score? Oh, the oldest player to 50 Premier League goals or something like that. It might have just been he scored his 50th Premier League goal. It might have just been that. I think it is just that. But then the Mangala goal again, was that the one at the edge of the box?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2 Dawson own goals, which I will say Calvert-Lewin's very unlucky that they are own goals. Because I do think they are probably both maybe going in, and then Dawson's, especially the one where they both go up for the header, Calvert-Lewin gets it, and then it goes off Dawson's head. There's one way. I think it's going in either way, and I think it's unlucky to not be given to him.
I think he is unlucky. I mean, Dawson is, for those who are the joke that's been running around,
Joint top goal scorer.
Yeah, which is absolutely depressing. But I mean, in terms of shots, we got loads away. Didn't get many on target. We had an XG of just over 1. But watching it, I thought we were a bit more up for it. Once we got a couple of goals, we were even more up for it. But we just seem to want the ball more, which is something that when we play like that, it's enjoyable to watch. When it's an Everton team that are like a bit more tenacious, I think sometimes we're a bit stagnant. And I get it when we're against the likes of Arsenal, you know, sitting off and not being pulled out of position and having your players, you know, stay in their formation and hard to break down. But like Wolves, for instance, where they are in the table, there's no reason Everton shouldn't be trying to press them a little bit more, trying to, you know, because we don't have a lot of pace in this team. So
especially
waiting
where they were at that moment as well under Gary O'Neill. Now less so, because I think Wolves are in a similar position to us where they should be higher in the table, but the manager was just incompetent. But I think this game is a highlight of why having someone like Mangala in your midfield is so good. And the more and more the season goes on, the more I'm starting to think Mangala might be our player of the season so far, because he's just having a midfielder who, again, is still very good at getting the ball, winning it. But he wants to come in this game. 97% passing accuracy, 28 or 29 passes. Someone who will just come, receive the ball, drive with it a little bit, lay it off. Still good in the tackle. Still had 4 recoveries, 6 defensive actions. Still goes for the ball, and I think it's something we'll probably mention. I honestly think we should try sign Mangala now, to be honest. But I think it's one where this game showed the benefit of someone like him, and him driving forward was able to cause the Wolves. We were able to, for once, overload a team in the midfield. Since Wolves played that 4, and then they only had Gomez and Andre. Again, I only know that because I've got the lineups here. But again, we were able to overload a team in the midfield, and it's usually us getting overloaded in the midfield, or maybe less so under Dyche, but especially under the older managers. Every game we'd be getting overrun in midfield. So I think it shows the advantage of having someone with so much energy, but also a good enough technical ability. It's why I am actually quite excited for Irobenham to come back. I do think Irobenham and Mangala could work really well together. I don't think that means we should be dropping Idrissa Gueye, because again, I still think Gueye's been quite good this season. One of the few standouts it's still a bad season, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think a game like this shows I think it shows a side of Everton that I wish you'd seen more, and it's when the set piece delivery is good, or we're really good on set pieces. I think Ashley Young continued his really good form into this. But yeah, I do think it's unfortunate for Calvert-Lewin. I do think he probably should have at least had one of the goals. But yeah, it's one of those where it's the shining light of the month. And that's saying something, since I still think the next 3 results are really good results, and arguably should have even been better than the latter 2. But yeah, I think it's one of those where it's a good result overall, and I think it's one where I do also kind of think it's probably saved Dyche a little bit because of the flack now. This game does still get brought up now when people try to go at Dyche, so it's one of those where it's kind of saving him from falling completely on the sword.
Yeah, we'll talk about the month as a whole when we reach the end, because you mentioned the next 2 results, which are good, and it brings me to a point that we'll end on. But the next one is Arsenal, of course, away at the Emirates, 0-0 draw. Like you said, this is a good result on paper because they look like the closest to challenge Liverpool currently for the title. I'm not going to call them title challenges, but
unironically, performance-wise, I think this was better than the Wolves game. I think we played better.
Yeah, I mean, stats-wise, it's absolutely horrific. Absolutely
I think it was going to be, though. But I think defensively, we were fantastic. We were absolutely just... Pickford was amazing. I don't know how many saves he made. 5 saves. I thought it was more than that, but there were a few just typical Pickford ridiculous saves, to the point where I don't get how some people don't think this guy's not a top 5 goalkeeper in the league. I think he's closer to 3 than he is to 5. I think it's one of those where, you look. Let me use an Emi Martinez from Villa as an example. I don't think Pickford and Martinez are far off each other at all, because I think you still look at the England performances. It's not like Pickford doesn't make huge saves for England. It's just England haven't won. Argentina have won. It's one of those where, again, Pickford... We'll mention this in another future game. It's not like Pickford's not good at saving penalties either. But this one was... I think we were very... Again, this is the start of the Jack Harrison trilogy of being a donkey, to be honest. And I usually, when I come on the channel, I like to sugarcoat things because, I think players get slagged off enough. But... He's just terrible. He's terrible for us. I shouldn't say, because he was good for Leeds, but for us, the bloke is just absolutely horrendous. And he's only being kept in the team because of his defensive work rate.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out this Arsenal game, by the way, was after their corners went viral. Everyone's talking about how good they were for corners. They had 8 against us.
Did one even come close?
No. So we obviously did our homework. I don't know. At the time, it was that Tom Garrett from Pitchside had said, about put more men forward, so then they have to put more men back. Like it was Leon in the Champions League did. I don't know what we did. I don't think we did do that. I think Dyche drilled them.
just able to all it was. We were just able to keep up with them physically.
Yeah, it helps when you've got Tarkowski.
Well, that's it. And then as soon as they were getting outstrength physically, they jumped to the floor crying.
Yeah, like when you've got a
I'm going to be real honest. I hate Arsenal. I can't stand them. I can't stand them. Like I love Arteta, right? I love him, but just shut up, man. Sometimes, just like it's like they are. I don't know. There's just something about them that a majority of the players, I should say, like someone like I love Bukayo Saka. I think he's an adorable young man. But I think But then there's just certain players in the team that I just like Saliba. It's Saliba. You're a big 6 foot odd, one of the best centre. You're clearly good aerial and you can handle yourself. The tiniest bit of physical contact, you think you just need shot.
Went against them, didn't they, against Brighton? Because that penalty with Pedro's a bit. It was a bit dubious. I don't think accidentally.
It was, but like,
but I guess that's
I just think it's they're
an irritating team.
They're toddlers in a way where if they don't get what they want, and we do it. The thing is, I will say we're just as bad. For fan bases crying, we're just as bad. I'm not going to pretend we're not, but it's like you saw it a lot in this game where it was like they'd get roughed up a bit on the corner, which you can't complain. It's what you lot do. We literally got a goal ruled out in the last game for doing the exact same thing they do every corner.
Yeah, I fully agree.
It's like, but it's not their fault. Again, I think a lot of the Arsenal corner stuff it's the referees. It's not really anything to do with them, and I complain about them. It's the referees being incompetent, but I think it kind of showed a warning sign for Arteta, and I do think this game probably factored into why he started playing Gabriel Jesus a little bit more up front, is because just you can't sit and just corner. Eventually, teams are going to figure it out. We figured it out, and then even in the past few games, they've not really looked up to it compared to what they did. They played well against Palace twice, I think, but it's Palace.
Yeah, he's a dark arts. He's a bit of a dark arts manager.
Yeah, you can tell he played under David Moyes, can't you?
Yeah, the overload in the box to cause chaos and hoping to strike in the middle of it is such a dark arts manager-esque thing to do.
It's I say it annoys me, but I know it's the exact same thing we're going to do.
I'd love it at us. I'd love it at us.
If we start doing it, it's a different story then. Am I a hypocrite? Yeah. Do I care? No. If we start doing it, listen, thank you.
Well, it's like how we all love Pickford for his goading, and I know other fans, and Richarlison, we loved him for it as well, and I know other fans hated both of them.
To be fair, though, I think if our players jumped to the floor after physical contact, I think our fans would lose it. Because I think we've built a history over our entire time in the Premier League of being a physical side. And I think it hinders us sometimes. The amount of times I'll look at one of our strikers just refuse to go down sometimes.
Yeah, I've watched them sometimes go down.
They'll have their shirt like this and they won't go down. And I'm like, brother, just try it. You can dive occasionally. Not all the time, but like everyone else does it.
You're guaranteed to get them these days with the refs, but
but it was really.
It's not a bad result. No, it's not a bad result.
We did get very lucky also that Arsenal just didn't seem to change the game plan. They just seem to stick with trying to set piece. And I'll give whoever. I don't know if we have a set piece coach.
No, I don't think we do.
But whoever's in charge of the set pieces. If it's Dyche, the assistant manager, whoever's in charge did a fantastic job in that game because I think
I'm sure there was like a table going around with set piece coaches in the Premier League, and we're the only team, or one of the only teams without one, which is
get set piece genius Davide Ancelotti back.
Yeah, I was going to say it's so Everton because when it wasn't as popular as it was, we had David Ancelotti doing it, and it worked because before then
I can imagine it's just the assistant, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be Dyche and his assistant. But I absolutely love that now it's popular. We don't seem to have one, and we've gone back.
Our corner strategy is try to float the ball all the way back to the post and give away a goal kick.
Well, it's the it worked last year. It's knock it to Tarkowski at the far post. He headers it back across the 6-yard
I think our
box.
problem is there's no. Was it the Bournemouth game where we tried the short corner and it was just the worst thing on planet Earth?
Yeah,
and it's just.
Yeah.
I think that is an example of probably why you need a set piece coach. We have one strategy. We have one strategy. If it works, we'll put 4 past you. If it doesn't, we're not scoring all game.
Yeah, it's mental. The next game, though, again, against another London club, this time at Goodison Park. 0-0, Chelsea. Again, I mean, a little bit better in terms of shots and XG than Arsenal. But again, 25% possession. I don't think it was an awful... I don't think this is an awful result either for what it's worth. Harrison probably should have scored. It's straight at the keeper, and Njai had a shot blocked as well that was quite close.
But obviously, the Jackson, I don't know how Jackson hit the post.
Yeah,
I don't know how he hit the post. But I also will say that Robert Sanchez was really good. Yeah. Robert Sanchez was really, really good for them. Ironically, for once, it was us paying the price of a good keeper performance against us instead of being saved by one. But yeah, we should have won this game. We should have won this game. I know you can make the same argument for Chelsea, but I think Jackson's was where it was less so. I don't know. I just said I don't know how he missed it, but at the same time, I think it was one where that was really the only contact he could get on the ball. I think a lot of it was just the way the ball came in and the angle he was at. Harrison's, a toddler could probably score that.
Yeah, is this the game that Brozier came on?
Man City's the game where Brozier came on. No, Brozier couldn't come on. He's from Chelsea, isn't he?
Oh, no, yeah.
Is it the next game? Oh, we'll talk about that.
Is that when the hate watch from the Albanian football team?
That poor Albanian bloke has had to jump in a river because of you, Jack Harrison. He had to jump in a river because of you.
I was trying to figure out.
I've seen the video. That river looked very cold.
It's absolutely insane.
I feel so bad for that bloke. I feel so bad for him.
Before we move on to the City game, it is worth noting we have just skipped over the derby. It was cancelled because of Storm Dara.
I don't know how it was cancelled.
Yeah, no, same. The snow didn't cancel the
Liverpool and Man United just went on.
Yeah, and that was all snow and freezing cold. And
if you look outside now, it looks like they're filming that new Batman film outside, man. It's snow everywhere.
I must admit, I live the other side of the Mersey, so we didn't get it too bad on the Wirral, but Liverpool, I did hear, got the wind a little bit worse. There were trees coming down.
We could have won that game.
You
know what? The crosses would have been horrendous, but the wind would have helped.
I thought it screamed Jordan Pickford doing a Tim Howard and just lunging it forward and lobbing the keeper, but no. Unfortunately, it was unfortunately, we say that just joking about scoring from a Pickford goal, but it could have ended up being a 6-0 battering.
No, because all it would have been is because our entire strategy is just shoot when you get the ball. With wind, just shoot's a little bit of a better strategy because Jack Harrison hits the ball 20 metres wide to the left every time. If the wind's coming 20 metres to the right, all of a sudden, that goes in. I'm just saying, all of a sudden, Jack Harrison turns into Messi with enough wind.
All the passes end up being shots because they've all of a sudden struggled to keeper. I mean, I do like games like that where chaos is caused by the weather. I think it adds to a bit of excitement in the Premier League. But, it was safety. I think it was more travelling, fans travelling. No, because
against Liverpool, the travelling fans.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is what they said. They were on about fan travelling, but
I can't make that joke. I'm not an Everton fan from Liverpool. I can't exactly make jokes about Norwegian Liverpool fans.
But I think they did say it was also to counter in travelling fans, Everton and Liverpool, and safety, which is, I mean, I'm not going to knock them for taking safety
at the end
first.
Of the day, both clubs still have a massive fan base outside of the city.
Yeah, and I'm not going to knock the Premier League for taking safety first either. I'd rather it be suspended and people were all right than, wind causing chaos and people being struck.
And if we're lucky, Liverpool go on a downturn because Salah gets bedridden with an illness for 2 weeks. I don't want to wish him to break his leg. He seems like a nice bloke, even though he plays for them, but
it'd be the only way to stop him at the minute. He's absolutely hell-bent on bringing that trophy.
You know what to do.
Yeah, he's on a mission. He is. But yeah, so obviously now the City game. This was 14 minutes in. I remember I was walking to my dad's on Boxing Day, spend that with him, and I got there. I was like, "Oh, well, this is a good start, isn't it?" Jeez.
It was so unlucky though.
Yeah,
Bramford is so unlucky that that ball bounces the way it does.
yeah, he does, and
Goal.
Dyche scores a lovely goal here as well.
That goal, who assisted and Dyche? Who crossed it? Because it doesn't tell me who has the assist here.
I think it's Decore.
Oh no, yeah, it was like a bit of a bobbly one, wasn't it? I think that's why it hasn't counted.
He's done well to hit it as sweetly as he did because, like you said, it did bobble.
Yeah, because the thing is as well, it's not like he's just like hitting the bottom corner. He's travellaed it into the top corner of the goal.
Yeah, and he did well because Rico Lewis has tried to hit it and completely missed the ball for it to bobble through to him. So it's already proven that it's a bit of a tough ball to hit when Rico Lewis is missing it.
But I think the story of this game again is Captain Useless on the right wing.
Yeah.
I think because the thing is, Calvert-Lewin stunk, as usual.
Yeah, best game.
Oh, wait, the penalty. I don't think it was a necessarily good penalty, to be honest.
No, I think it was a case of, I mean, obviously Pickford is good at saving penalties.
What I will say, though, is I don't know how the rest of, but I it's the one thing I'll credit Pickford for. Whenever someone else has a penalty, I feel like he's going to save it. Which I think it's always usually the opposite when any team, no matter how good your goalkeeper is. I always feel like Pickford's going to save it. It's like the best example I've got is when we played Italy in the Euros final and Jorginho stepped up. And I think the entire tournament, whenever Italy took a penalty, it was Jorginho, don't miss a penalty. And I remember looking to someone who supported Liverpool and going, Pickford saving this. And he goes, no, he's not. What? Jorginho don't miss penalties. Watch. Pickford saves it.
I had a similar. I said to my family when I was like, Pickford saves pens though. And he did.
That's what it is. So it's like, I think everyone except Mikolenko and Harrison and Calvert-Lewin, but I already mentioned that, played quite well in this game. I think Ajusage was good. I think Seamus Coleman was really good. I know Doku got the assist, but and I know the joke is Doku only gets goal contributions if the fullback's over 30. But it's like he was really good. He did really well at containing Doku. He did well going forward. To the point where even now, really I'm completely not against Seamus Coleman at right back and Ashley Young at left back.
Yeah, I mean Ashley Young playing really, really well. I felt a bit like
he missed it because of a yellow, didn't he?
Yeah. I felt a bit like he was like this was Seamus's chance to try and redeem his spot because otherwise, I think you'd have played Young again just because of the form he's been on this month. I think for the month of December, you could argue. I mean, he's another one who could be our player of the season so far.
The thing is, as well, is Coleman was basically having to contain Bernardo Silva and Doku. And he did it really well. He did like, I don't know if I can get like dribbled pass stats. He wasn't dribbled past once all game. 9 defensive actions. You know, against Jeremy Doku is, I'd say, I don't know, one of the better Premier League dribblers, but
he's a fantastic dribbler at pace.
Yeah, one of the more like he'll constantly go at you.
Yeah, he's one of them. I mean, I know he's only 22, but he's been doing it since he was like 18. Yeah. He's one of them who still plays like an 18-year-old where he'll run at you and take on the man.
Apparently only had 2 dribbles this game, which I guess because they were playing a lot more give and go, but 0% success accuracy against Seamus Coleman. And I think that assist was just he got the ball immediately and then played a nice through ball. It was nothing to do with Coleman. And like we said, Bramthwaite's very unlucky to not get like a shin on the ball and deflect it or something. He's just very lucky the way Bernardo's hit the ball really well and it's bobbled, which has then obviously caused a problem for Pickford as well. Because at first I think they were trying to say it was an on-goal Bramthwaite, but he was going on target either way. So it's one of those where I think then Broya comes on towards the end of the game and I think completely changes the dynamic of the game for us. This is his best performance for us so far. should have had a goal or an assist if Harrison wasn't useless. Like I just like if someone hasn't watched the game, we'll give the context. We're driving forward. Broja does really well to grab the ball, drive basically all the way to the edge of City's box, lays it off for Harrison. Harrison drives a little bit and has about 4 passing options who are not being marked. Instead, tries to go on his left foot and then hits it, but hits it horribly. When he could have bent it around, but just hits it again. But the ball, if it would have still went through, was going straight into Ortega's hands.
He's got a bad habit of hitting it straight at the defender.
He's got a bad habit of being the worst winger in the Premier League by a country mile.
He drives and drives and just boots it straight at the defender, and it drives me mad.
The bloke doesn't know what he's doing. And it's like, because the thing is, right, players make mistakes, it happens. But this is 2 games in a row where he's given away game-winning goals against Chelsea and Manchester City. Game-winning goals that, for context, put us 14th? Yeah. Oh, no, we drew, so 4 points. Put us 15th. 5 points off of relegation. And saying that, realistically, do we get absolutely hammered by Nottingham Forest if we're coming off win against Wolves, draw against Arsenal, win against Chelsea, win against Man City? No, I think it's a lot more competitive in the last game we're going to talk about if Jack Harrison's legs worked.
Well, you say that last game, we'll get into this now. 2-0 against a very informed team at the minute, has to be said. Chris Wood and Gibbs White scoring.
That first goal was so good.
Yeah, this is disappointing because I think obviously at home it's not nice, but we were so these are a team that are so informed though, aren't they?
Yeah. Again, I think it's just they figured it out. They figured us out. It's the one thing is why Nottingham Forest are doing so well is they don't go into a game with a specific structure that they just fit to and only play that structure. They go into games adapting to their opponents. And I don't think enough teams do it in the Premier League, really. I think Nottingham Forest will come into a game and decide. And again, they'll play to their strengths and to your weaknesses. What's our weakness? Just give us the ball. So that's all they did. They just went, you're going to touch the ball. We're going to sit back and let you defend. And it worked perfectly. And again, I think the first goal, it's just unbelievable play. I think some people were trying to knock the defenders, but I don't think anyone in their right mind expects Elanga to do that little back header back to Wood. And Wood's finish was just, Pickford's barely off his line and Wood just lifts it perfectly into the net. It's a really good goal. But then it's like, after the goal, we controlled the game until the half time. I barely think they touched the ball. But again, we can't do anything with the ball, and it's why we desperately need someone like a McNeil back, or we need a winger this January, or again another centre midfielder besides Mangala who can move with the ball, because there's no option otherwise, and this game proved it.
Yeah, I was about to say this is a very rare instance where we actually had the majority of possession, but unfortunately we struggled to find out what to do with it. I know we're missing a James Garner type as well that can maybe try and play some nice balls from midfield, but ultimately, it's a problem that I think Sean Dyche has struggled with. This is actually his whole career because he's always played teams that are underdogs, so it's very rare. You see it's Sean Dyche's side that are the favourites, at Burnley and now at Everton. And when we've played teams that are, in the most polite way, lesser teams than us, I'm thinking the Lutons of last year, Southampton this year, where Southampton have large possession of the ball and do nothing with it anyway. But we have
so bad that I could see Southampton realistically tying Derby's record or even beating it. They're terrible.
Yeah, but when we have the ball against an opponent and we have more of the ball, we really, really struggle. And I think you're right. Forest know that, and Forest were like, just let them have the ball, almost like what we do with what we'd like us to do with certain teams. Let Everton have the ball. What are they going to do with it?
It's exactly what we did to Arsenal. Arsenal's set pieces weren't working, and they'd been struggling in open. Not really, but struggling for their standards in open play. Because again, maybe not last season, but the season before, one of the title races, they were just everything were going in open play. They were fantastic, and it's one of those where we had it done to us. But Sean Dyche he didn't adapt to the game. like, I understand he brought on Jesper Lindstrom in the 46th minute for Harrison, and then brought on Patterson, but it's like, realistically, we should be making a change like that early into the half. And I understand Gibbs White ends up scoring in the 61st minute. I don't really remember how the goal happened, but it's like, it feels like sometimes when we'll go down, there's no desire to come back. I think Broja was bad, to be honest, but like, it's again, it shows that no adaptation from us. Forest have arguably the best centre-back aerially in the Premier League in Milenkovic. The bloke, I never seem to lose headers. Or it's very rare. He always usually gets the better of the others, and we're just lumping it long. Even that Murato, who doesn't play much for him, but was probably the standout centre-back that game for them, I'd say. And we're just constantly trying to lump it up long. And it's like there's no attempt at changing the system from Dyche, when in reality as well, I know Broja's a big lad, he's better with the ball at his feet. Every good moment he's had for us has been with the ball at his feet.
This is the same with Beto. We did this with Beto.
I don't get how he doesn't look at Broja against Man City, dance through City's midfield, and what should have been a goal contribution. He did the same thing almost immediately after coming on at Arsenal, gets the ball on the left wing and runs past 5 of them and keeps the ball. Just, I don't get it. Like, I'm not a football manager, but like my brain on football is thinking, if you see an opening, even if it changes your system a bit, while you're losing the game, go for it. You're losing anyway.
Yeah, and he has been sticking people up top, but like far too late in the game. But this was the problem with Beto. Obviously, Beto's a big lad. I don't know if Everton's scouting system for over 6 foot must be good in the air, but Beto is a lot better with the ball played in front of him, and we were lumping it to him like a target man.
I think it's just he's 6 foot.
Yeah, like I feel like they go over 6 foot or over, lump it up to them because they're tall, and it's like, you know, it doesn't work with the prime example is Weghorst, and I thought he learned that when Weghorst played at Burnley. He's a big lad, but he's not that impressive. He's better with the ball at his feet and using his strength, to hold players off. But he's not. I didn't think Weghorst, when I watched any of his time at Burnley, was great in the air. And I thought that Sean Dyche had learned that, not every big lad can play like a target man. That for the aerials, sometimes they have to be to the ball to their feet. You can still do the same job as a target man, hold the ball off, let others come into play. But it's more at the feet target man, not a, lump it up to him in the air sort of guy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, I don't know. Like, in my mind, anyway, and again, I might be wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. It's common sense.
Yeah, I mean, the archaic shouts of him as a manager, I sometimes think are a bit unfair. But then when I watch him,
like Sean Dyche's biggest problem is he's stubborn.
Yeah, because when I watch stuff like this, I'm like, this is a little bit archaic that you think everyone over 6 foot can deal with the ball being lumped at them. But yeah, it's frustrating. As that's covered up the month, though, I will say what I was going to say now, and we'd said it off camera. So this month, we've just reading out the results. And obviously, this after the United game, we beat Wolves. We draw against Arsenal, draw against Chelsea, draw against City. Obviously, lose to Forest. And then that tops off the month. Before the United game that kicked off the month, though, we drew against Brentford and West Ham. It's not a bad... And what I'm trying to say is when, and we said it before, Dyche came out with the knee and said, if you had a few wins, it's not a bad run, which is a silly... I get why it's irritated people because it's not come across well.
My thing is...
If you throw in, say now we beat one of the draw, we get a win in one of the draws, or we beat Forest, or we beat Forest.
Harrison scores one of those goals.
That is a good month. That actually is a good month. The problem is you need wins in football, and we are lacking them.
Yeah, it's kind of my thing that winds me up a little bit because I know he can't. He can't come out in a press conference and say if that useless could hit the goal, you wouldn't be wanting me to get sacked. But also, like, I just think it's the way he goes about things, and it's like
what he
It's
said
like
is
he
true.
doesn't. I don't think it's like. I think anyway. I'm someone who can tend to give managers like I'm willing to sit back and say, okay, let's see how this goes. It's just the bloke goes from like extremely likable to extremely to just shut up within seconds of it. I don't know how he does it. It's really impressive, but it's like sometimes I'll listen to what he says and it's that quote and I'll go, I get what you mean, but like no, because at the end of the day, as well, because someone can easily then turn that on you and go, so if you would have actually made a proactive change instead of sitting there like a clampet, how does the game change?
I think if we were higher up the table, if he had a few more wins in the bank this season instead of a record of 3 wins, I think. Say now we were mid-table, we were knocking about a 10th, and he said that this month, if you had a few wins, this month would be a good month. Fans would swallow it. They'd go, yeah, you know what, that is true because it isn't a bad month. Out of context, that's a really good month. I'd a win in, and that is a great month for us. But it's added with the context of 3 wins all season. The football's been at times very, very hard to watch. And I'm not an activator. I've stuck up for him, and I will own that. And I do think the squad has its limitations, and he's done well with that, and he's got some credit in the bank still. But you can afford to say that when you're 10th in the league, and the atmosphere isn't as bad as it is, but fans are frustrated.
Even if you've just simply got some credit built up in the bank, he doesn't. And he hasn't got the credit built up in the bank because of his own stubbornness that bites him in the ass. It's no one else's fault that he refuses to make simple changes or he refuses and it's like
I think he's got it. I think he's got it from last. I think he's got it from what the 2 seasons are overall. So like when he does go, you have to give him his due. He kept us safe twice.
Yeah, it's but I think a lot of it is like, how quickly does that credit fade when you can't buy a win? Because I think a lot of it is as well is the frustrations of that. A lot of fans look at it and go, but let's even just take the context of the Harrison win and go, so we could have won that game. So it's like, and he refuses to be proactive in situations where you have to be proactive. And it's like,
that's what I was going to say. Like, it's fine.
I get if he sits and goes, with what players am I meant to do it with? First of all, mate, as we mentioned at the start, give the kids in the academy a chance instead of putting 2 goalkeepers on the bench. You bloody hell, and it's like you'll look at someone like an Armstrong whose profile is midfield. I think he plays on the wing for the academy, but like he look at him, he's essential midfielder.
He plays right mid, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, but like he's a midfielder who's got a solid build, who's willing to get stuck in, and he's decent on the ball. You know how many times we'll watch Decore and be like, can we just give someone who's decent on the ball a chance? And Dyche will go, well, I genuinely think Dyche looks at him and goes, he's too young, he can't play yet. What?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this about the credit. I think it's all about context. So, like, when I say he has got credit in the bank, he has. When he finishes his 3 years, we will look at it and say that it was an all right job because of the points deductions and safety, and that is credit in the bank. In the context of this season, we're yet to kick on, so that he doesn't get leeway of, like I said, if we were 10th, he'd get the leeway of, we're not in any trouble. We can have this is a really good month, but he'd be excused certain comments. But I just feel like this comment, although I think what he said is true, the way he said it, one, wasn't great because it's been picked apart far too easily as an argument.
I think a big part of his problem as well is that I think he just refuses to take accountability a lot of the times. Do you know how much better his response would have been is if he just probably said that exact quote and then just added at the end, I need to do better.
He has thrown the players under a bit.
Need to do better.
Yeah, which I don't mind throwing the players under when they deserve it either. We're acting like the 11 on the pitch are mega stars and he's holding them back. I think they could do better than what they're putting out.
They could easily be. I mean, the easy example, last season we finished. I know we had the point. We finished mid-table. We finished 12th.
Yeah,
and how much you look at all the talent on the pitch and the talent that's probably being misutilized. And Die out on the wing, he's playing well, but he's not a winger. And every time we see him in central positions, he does miles better. And it's like I understand it. This time, not his
needs
fault.
to swap McNeil and him around. It's been obvious for a while now.
Since the McNeil injury, not his fault. McNeil's been injured.
Yeah,
I understand why he plays Decore because the midfield's a lot more solid, and you look at the Wolves game and how it works out during this. But it's like and it's why I can give him a little bit more leeway compared to I want him gone. That's the brutal honesty. But I think a lot of it is I want him gone anyways. But it's like I want him gone for the future.
I think he is going. I just don't think he's going. We'd have to be in real. I think he's going anyway.
I think he's getting sacked this month. I know, a lot of people. I shouldn't say take gambling odds into account, but realistically, these gambling companies know about the inner workings of the club a little bit because it's how they get the odds. Sean Dyche dropped from 7-1 to the odds-on favourite to get sacked.
I mean, if he does go this month, but even if he manages to keep his job till the summer, he's going. He won't be here at Bramley-Moore.
But it's like he's going to have another clanger of a quote on Thursday because the club is actively looking at other managers. Reliable news sources are coming out and saying we're looking at other managers right now.
Yeah, although
but I don't think Sean Dyche is the type of manager who's going to want to prove us wrong I think he wants the club to sack him. I think he wants the payout.
I don't want to dig out journalistic companies, especially as it's an industry.
Do it. I can't do it. I've got a degree, but you did do it in journalism.
No, same. I've got the same one. But
quickly, let's invite someone else into the call and let them dig them out.
I'm not digging them out either. But what I will say is, because how they've worded it's fine. What I will say is people have to be careful with how they read. So,
I'm reading like that for a reason. It's vague for a reason.
I'm reading the Friedkins are assessing Sean Dyche among other things at the club. That's what most owners do anyway. Even if he was top of the league, they'd be assessing stuff around him anyway.
I don't know if this one will get me in trouble, but you have to look at
diligence.
This one might. I don't know. I don't think it should. But a lot of quotes in journalism, especially, it's very if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bike. A lot of
got to use context for it.
A lot of it is pointing out the obvious, and that's obviously because you've got to constantly refresh the news cycle. For example, Sean Dyche being sacked is being mentioned. It's a hot story. Let's put it in. And that the Friedkins are assessing could literally mean they've told him you have 3 games. Or it could mean there's been a conversation. Should we do it? Yeah, probably not. Let's wait till the end of the season. And that's still.
Or they're just looking and they go, it could be as easy as his contract's up at the end of the season. They're looking, they're going, do we keep him?
A lot of it is probably again, not to dig these journalists out, there's probably quite a few where they haven't even been told anything. It's just common sense.
I don't think it's digging them out. What I'm saying is you got to add the wider context because what they're saying is true and it's not fake or anything. It is true, but it is. It's obvious, and you've got to take it out of the context of right now. It's a bad run, so everyone's like, "Oh, because he's going to get sacked." No one said he's going to get sacked. The journalists are just saying they're assessing it.
A lot of it is as simple as just read what it says. Don't think into it. The journalists start trying to give you an Easter egg. No, if it says they're assessing, then they're assessing. It doesn't mean he's going to get sacked, but. You also then have to take into the context of they're assessing him. We lose to Peterborough on Thursday. There's a good chance they might go, I've had enough.
But game's a game as well. You would say they're assessing it now when we're at a low period because fans will get excited and read articles.
We know they've been assessing him the entire time. If you put the context together of all the different articles, they've been assessing him since they came in. They've probably given him a period and said, realistically, I can imagine you have this many games. Or they might have not said that to him, but they've had an idea. Let's see how the first 5 games go. Let's see how the first... it might even be as simple as, let's see how the start of January goes. Because they already might have replacements in mind.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the 1st of January now, which is what we'll end on January. Obviously not the Peterborough game, and we are 6-7 days into January as I say this. But Villa, Spurs, Brighton, and then February looks a little bit nicer with Palace, who we have a good record over, and Leicester and
We're going to
Brentford
win
towards
every
the end.
game in January and then
But
not win a game in February.
January is such a tough month. Like, I mean, I
think the thing is, so was this month, and it's like,
yeah,
so was December, sorry. And like, realistically, right, we can beat Tottenham. Tottenham fans might be fuming. Tottenham, if you can stop Tottenham from attacking,
they might play into a Dyche's plan of drop backing it on.
If we can like contain someone like a Kulusevski, all of a sudden we beat them, because I'm pretty sure Spurs can't defend set pieces.
Well, it's obviously January as well, and we haven't touched on the window being open, but it is open. If we can get some pacey wingers over the line before then,
saying that,
we can hit them on the break.
We might as well mention it here. I don't know if there's a news video coming out soon, usually, because I am usually the one who is slaved into news videos. So, but there has been links with Jane Philogene from Aston Villa, Fabrizio Romano as well. So a good link in that we are discussing with Villa a permanent transfer. That's perfect. It's a pacey winger, good on the ball. Who some fans, you mentioned it, and it's a very good point. He's a left-footed right winger, but also can play on the left wing. Has played both wings for Aston Villa. Did it for Hull. Very good at driving with the ball and creating chances with his dribbling, which I think is something we need. I think, and he does work defensively. I know we shouldn't be using a red card to prove why he works defensively, but it proves it. He runs back, he tracks back, and he's willing to get stuck in, which I think fits perfectly with us. I think, hopefully, because I can imagine we'll end up doing a stream or something at the end of the month, or someone will. We usually always do for transfer windows. I think it's one where this is vital for our chances of survival, and I know people don't like hearing that. We're not. Look at the team. We should have finished 12th next season. We're not in a relegation fight. Yeah, we are. We are.
We need pace,
especially now that Ipswich are picking up results. Like, yes, we are a better side than Ipswich. We are a better side than Leicester and Southampton. But how many times do you see Leeds went down with a guy who's in the Ballon d'Or race right now? It happens. West Ham went down with 40 odd points in a team that had ridiculous amounts of players in it. I think it had like Jermaine Defoe, Joe Cole, and stuff like that in it. That might not have been the 40-point team, but it happens. A lot of it is based on form, and it is why we are seeing a lot of get Dyche out now, because we've seen. I think a lot of the reason as well is, I think it's not Dyche's fault, but we've seen this happen in the past. Lampard being the big example, didn't get rid of him before the World Cup, should have got rid of him before the World Cup, and after the two Bournemouth games, where I think we conceded like 10 or something overall. But yeah, it's one of those where I think the fans really want us to be proactive with sacking someone, and I understand it. Again, I don't think he really deserves the job after this season. I do think you are right, and I think he's good enough to keep us up. I think he's I think he is, and I do think it's a lot of it is he does need more support in January. I think it's as simple as that. Is again, if Philogene's in those positions where Jack Harrison is, probably scores them. So I think it's one where, I think it is that simple. I don't think he's the best manager. I don't think he's the right manager for this club moving forward. But I am willing to give him a little bit of credit and say, you look at the two results we could have won. It's not his fault Jack Harrison can't kick a football. And it's unfortunately, and again, that's no dig out at Jack Harrison. It is actually, I take it wrong. He's a dig out at Jack Harrison. I'm not going to pretend and say it like it's not, but it's like sometimes I don't think it's a majority. I think you look at the games where we lose convincingly, it is Dyche's fault. Nottingham Forest. You should have clicked on to what they were doing immediately, because all the fans clicked on. Well, I think he did click on, but I think it's the stubbornness. I think he needs to be willing to be less stubborn. And I'm not a football manager. I've never guided a crap team to the Europa League like he has, but we can also see the obvious. Why can't you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We're at a pivot where if you're going to change, do you give him? I mean, no, I don't think we are actually, because it should be farewell signing these players, and the club should be working that way around, not.
I think it is. I like Illiman and Dyer. Broyer and Dyer are not Sean Dyche players.
And neither is Philogene, because we were after him last summer. These are all farewell signings coming through now. which I think is the correct way to go, by the way.
And I mean, to be fair, these Felwell signings have adjusted really well to playing under Sean Dyche.
Yeah,
I think credit that, and Dyche is someone who, I mean, saying that he played quite a similar football under Wilder when they were in the Premier League, and Heckingbottom when they were in the Premier League, but he's adapted really well to, for example, for a player who Marseille fans were telling us can't play on the wing, being really
I think he's played really well.
Our best player on the pitch a majority of the times, the best outfield player anyway. So I think it's one where we'll have to see again. If we is it Villa this week? It is, isn't it? We beat Villa. All of a sudden, the tide on Dyche changes. We beat Tottenham after that. Had the signings made right. I do think don't expect anything going into the Villa game in the sense of like Villa aren't going to sell us Philogene before they know what they're doing. We're going to sign if we sign Philogene, it's going to be after the Villa game, or it's going to be like on the day of the Villa game, or the day before, so he's not going to be fit enough to play or something like that.
Yeah, I can't see him coming in.
Or it'll be a loan with an obligation to buy, so that they can do the cheeky. Well, he can't play against us. He's on loan thing. So, but I if the signings are made, I have hope. But again, that's down to the Friedkins to understand that at the end of the day, you may have not wanted to, but the 30-40 million probably has to be set aside this January just for even just for two players. If you can get more out of that money, fantastic. If you can do the smart thing, which is as soon as Philogene's signed, send Harrison or Lindstrom. I prefer Lindstrom. Honestly, send both of them if you can back and just be like, there we go. Now, the space is to play this a better style. I thought it's not worked out. I think Lindstrom is a little bit better than Harrison. He's just. I think it's one of those where if something better comes up, do not be afraid to jump. If Arsenal are willing to give Kieran Tierney on loan to us, yes, one of our domestic loans should be booted straight back to their club, because at the end of the day, if we're going to sign a winger permanently, the fullback then becomes more of a priority.
Yeah. I guess it just depends what we do this window. In terms of January, though, I think we'll December. I think we'll call it there, because December is a long month, and luckily January is a little bit shorter. We're already a game in. But Cal, thanks for joining me, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave a comment on the video. Tell us about your feelings about Sean Dyche. I'm sure there's plenty of you out there with strong feelings. Let us know. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And we'll see you guys very, very soon.